to the ATI Podcast with Barrett and Josh.
Hey miss, I tried to reach you, hard to imagine you being busy. Why must this always be such a struggle? Why must you always have things your way?
Welcome back to the ATI Podcast. This is Barrett here to start things off for us this week. First and foremost, thank you for tuning back in. We have many great tasty treats for our listeners here on episode 10. These treats, of course, are courtesy of the whole damn meal, dessert and all, our man of the hour, Jezus Rose, aka Mr. Bryan Jones. Bryan, like many of us, was originally born in St. Louis and then moved to the mineral area at a young age. Bryan graduated here in Southeast Missouri, locally. Bryan always had the gift of gab, the ability to speak to anyone, and a great disposition. It was evident at an early age that he was destined for greatness, purely based off his raw talent and natural abilities. Bryan comes from a large family as well. We discuss how the family dynamic has helped shape and motivate his career and has made him the artist that he is today. Music turned out to be therapy that helped Bryan to escape the problems that existed in his upbringing as well. We'll dive into that. After school, Bryan moved back to St. Louis, at which he took advantage of many opportunities and began pursuing his musical career. St. Louis is known to be the place where many artists, particularly in the rap and R&B genres, have achieved their creative breakthroughs, i.e., Nelly, Murphy Lee, Chingy, Jaquan, Akon, Smino, Metro Boomin, Saint Lunatics, and SZA, just to name a few. And if you really want to go old school, let's talk about Ike and Tina Turner, as well as Chuck Berry. As an R&B artist, Jezus Rose is bringing with him some fresh new takes to the genre. Bryan's vocal talent is perfected with emotion and a deep commitment to bring life to everything that he touches. Bryan, aka Jezus Rose, symbolizes a return to music that captures our desires, emotions, and life's most precious moments with compassion. R&B is hungry for an artist just like Jezus Rose. So will you please welcome to the program my dear friend, Bryan Jones, aka Jezus Rose. Yeah, how's mom and the fam?
Boy, my mom.
Yeah.
That spoiled old lady. Everyone's doing very well. We just recently moved my mom to Texas. My little brother, Don, he lived in Austin. So we moved my mom from, the Boot Hill down to Austin with him.
Yeah.
Just to get her a different, scenery. He's about to he just recently had a baby on the 29th. She turns 1. I'm super excited. Yeah. Jermaine, he is in Iowa with his wife. They're expecting their second baby. So everyone is just prospering, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Lots of greatness.
That's
God's
awesome.
been taking care of everybody. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Yeah, I don't know if Dom told you, but I ran into him at Walmart about 3 or 4 years ago. And we talked for like 45 minutes. Like, I didn't even recognize him, dude. He's fucking jacked. He's a big old boy now.
Oh, yeah.
And
everyone's like gym rats, man. It's like in our DNA. So it's like, but they done surpassed me, bro.
I know they're big. They are big,
they're huge. Especially
Jermaine. He was actually working out at the same gym as me, and our gym closed. And
for real?
Yeah.
Which one?
Element Fitness there in Park Hills.
That's really small gym?
I honestly, I can't remember the name of it now. It's been closed for like 2 years. But it was up there next to Big Lots in Leadington. And that lady had like a huge space there. She was doing personal training, A lot of power lifter guys were going there. She even had like a bag room. I'd work out in the bag room, just doing some boxing and shit. And they even had like a roll room for like MMA and stuff like that. Like she had all kinds of real estate there, tons of machines. But yeah, she had money issues.
Yeah, I think that was. I think her name was Chrissy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I went to that gym a couple times. When I'd be out there, I would go out there with like Alaric and Will and all of the guys. Brian Little would come out sometimes. My boy Stephon from North County. It'd be a whole bunch of us, and we'd just be in there gym ratting it out.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there was little packs that come in there all the time. I was usually in there by myself, but I don't know if you remember Ridge Jackson. I ended up playing music with him and stuff. He came over from Bellevue in high school, and me and him got pretty tight, and he got into powerlifting pretty hardcore there for a while, so we were working out there together quite frequently. But yeah, everybody kind of put on their headphones, get in their zone, especially if you're in there to do work, you know. You ain't in there to chill out and grab ass.
Facts.
So I wanted to talk about how we know each other, obviously, to kind of so we can kind of make those connections for everybody that's listening to the show too. So you moved over down to the AV area, like in elementary school, right, or middle school, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, elementary school.
Yeah. And so you and Aaron, my brother, were in the same grade, and you guys were like best friends.
Yeah, that's my brother to this day. That's my brother.
And you call the house all the time, and I talked to you on the phone or whatever for a little bit. And then as you got into middle school, I'd see you a little bit more frequently because we were like in the same building, and I was in high school. And then we really, I think, hit it off to another level whenever we were in band together, and on drumline specifically.
Yep.
And I have to tell this story. I told Josh, I'm like, I'm working this fucking story in because it's like one of my favorite things from high school is whenever we did the Jackson 5, I Want You Back in marching band.
Bro.
And we were fucking around and you were singing to it. And I was like, dude, get the fuck out there and start dancing to that. And it was I think it was either Bartley or Bales. I can't remember who our instructor was at the time. I want to say maybe Bartley.
I think it was Bartley, yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, what the fuck are you guys doing out here? And you just like cut a rug, and it was like, it just came off so amazing just off the get. And he was like, all right, you guys do that every time now. So like whenever we went and did that competition down in South Iron, and you busted and you killed it, dude. And that right there was just the start of the showcase of the performer I feel like that you are and ultimately would end up being. You just had it in your blood.
Yeah, definitely. It was so crazy because I started off originally like really getting into the drums in church, and it was like everyone around me was like hesitant when it came to the music thing. Because how it is where we're from, you know what I'm saying? It's an unrealistic goal thing,
Right.
I literally have to contribute the fact that I still pursue music today to the fact that from playing the drums in marching band, I still have the photos from that day when we performed in that parade and I did the Michael Jackson dance and all of that. I still have photos of that. You know what I'm saying? My mom keeps a photo of me and Aaron on her, it's not on her fridge now, but for a long time it was on her fridge of me and Aaron at that exact parade that you're speaking about. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Because I literally remember taking my snare off, just going out and dancing. And just everything, bro, to playing the bass guitar. I don't know if you remember, but you actually, showed me how to play the bass guitar. Y'all showed me how to play Eye of the Tiger on the guitar.
Yeah.
Everything musically that I was doing, bro, y'all were right there at the foundation of all of it. You encouraged me to keep going, so.
Yeah, we were all kind of blowing up at that time, learning different stuff. So, obviously, when we first started becoming friends, I wasn't even playing guitar and bass yet. And, I kind of took off with that, because I started to learn to do that also. And actually in band, I started on saxophone of all things. So, I can do a little bit of this and that. In fact, I just got my saxophone back from my sister a couple months ago. I was like, I wonder if I could still play this thing. And I busted it out, dude, and I was able to run through a scale still. It's crazy, that muscle memory that you can build up at that early age, and you can still knock the shit out.
Remember it that long.
But But yeah, so obviously we've known each other for quite some time. And then I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, I ran into you again up in South County and just out of nowhere. And we cut it up at the mall a little bit. And then I even came back a couple weeks later because I told my buddy that was back from the military, I was like, my buddy Brian's working up at South County. We got to stop by and see him. And you got to meet him because that's, Brandon's my best friend also. And I wanted you guys to connect at least for a minute so he knew who you were, because I was always telling stories about back in the day in high school, me and Brian, this and that. I remember giving you and your brothers rides home from school sometimes and shit like that too. And us fucking jamming out to... You were
literally like a big brother, bro. Like, you looked out a lot.
Yeah, jamming out to...
We dealt with some crazy shit back then, too. Yeah. So you might have saved our lives a couple times back then,
Especially the area, right?
Yeah, there's obviously some, like, horrific stories and things that you dealt with specifically down in Arcadia. Like, I was just telling Josh before we got on the call, like, I remember, somebody said something cross to you, probably used, like, a superlative or, a racial slur. And I remember you just, like... I was like, this dude fucking crow hopped and just knocked his ass out. I was so proud of you. I was. I was like, that motherfucker deserved it.
Right.
I remember shit happening and we would have talks too. And I'd be like, I try to encourage you to be above it, but I knew I could never walk a day in your shoes. But I saw the shit that people did and said that was obviously inappropriate and no room for it, But that's what makes what's going on right now that much sweeter, though. That's why I wanted to bring that up, because you are doing great things with your life and fucking people like that,
Yeah.
You reap what you sow, bro,
Facts.
Is it a culture shock coming from, like, a small town area and going out to the West Coast? I mean, I'm sure it is, but I mean, like...
Bro. First of all, I'm going to say this, bro. When we were growing up, bro, our hangout spot was basically the basketball court.
Right.
Maybe like a roller rink or bowling alley, maybe, or Walmart. You know what I'm saying? We barely had street lights. You feel me? So like now when I moved up to St. Louis, it was like the warm up. You know what I'm saying? But moving out to LA, bro, like, this is different. Like you realize that there's just a different level of living that you don't really get to experience whenever you don't venture outside of your especially coming from like a super small town like that, bro. Like, I went from thinking, like, I don't know if you remember, Barrett, but, like, I used to collect Hot Wheels and remote control cars too. So, like, I always had, like, a fascination with cars, Right. So I went from looking at remote control cars, like, one day I'm going to have, this, and then seeing, like, a Bentley or a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, like, and being like, holy crap, dude got a Ferrari. Now it's like, oh, yeah, it's a Bentley truck.
Right,
it's
they're everywhere out there.
Like, it's normal. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I drive those things, like, 1 or 2, 3 times a week because I work for major production companies where we literally put them in music videos. So I get to slide around, in these just for the videos. It's like, I don't know, bro. It's like a living. It's like constantly affirming now that I'm out here in this environment because, but it's definitely different. The wealth that is out here is crazy. The women, oh my God, bro.
Yeah. I hear you, bro. Being a single guy too, man, you got to take your opportunities,
Man.
Yeah, but, so I know that you were born in St. Louis and then you ended up down in the AV area like we kind of covered before. What brought you down to AV, if you don't mind me asking you?
So initially, it's a combination of things, man. One, my mother, she was deeply rooted in her religion. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We grew up in a Pentecostal church.
Yeah.
And we had a minister basically come to the church when we were young and say that, I don't really know the exact details. I was pretty young, but for the most part, I remember him saying, like, they needed to get out of the inner cities. It wasn't good for the kids. It wasn't good for, their spirits. And he said that they basically needed to go somewhere where they could have land, where they can grow food, where they can have shelters to, you know, store food, where they can learn to live off the land. And, you know, my mother, she really bought into it, which, you know, I understand why. If you look at where we are today, you know, it's pretty crazy. Right. But, so that was one reason. Another reason is because my pops was, like, really heavy in the gang culture. You know what I'm saying? I witnessed a lot of crazy things when I was 6. I watched a kid get, like, smoked by another kid, like, right in front of me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it was just, like...
I remember you telling me about that.
Crazy, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, you see stuff like... And then the thing is, as a kid, you don't really realize what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that trauma, it, like, sticks with you. And then you realize, like... You don't realize how traumatic it is until later on you go back and think about it. And you're like, holy shit, like, I just watched somebody get their brains blown out right in front of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
when you're that young, your brain essentially goes into survival mode, and it's a coping mechanism. You know, you probably know this too in great detail, and I'm not going to get into all that, but I can relate in some respects that, you know, Aaron and I were in foster care together for a long period of time. We were taken from our family. And I was 6 at the time, and he was 3, you know, perhaps 2.5, you know, because he's about 3.5 years younger than I am. And he doesn't remember a lot of it, but those are my first memories, you know, going through foster homes, being abused, so on and so forth. In fact, we were in a cop's household, and he and I were both being abused by a police officer. You know?
That's crazy.
So, you know, there's a lot of evil out there in the world, masked in good things, you know, kind of the wolf in sheep's clothing kind of phenomenon, if you will. You know, people that put up a good front, and there's really more nefarious things going on in the background that people don't actually realize, and hidden agendas and so on and so forth. So, you know, I can definitely relate with you with all that stuff. You know, and I know the church was kind of in part of your experience and your exposure to, you know, performing, you know, playing the drums like you mentioned earlier.
Right.
We talked about some of the band stuff. You know, you got propelled into doing things because of your talents, I know. But outside that, what kind of got you driven to pursue the music career?
I mean, to be honest, like, when I was younger, I realized music was always like an escape for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I didn't, you know, first of all, when I was in that part of town, it was like I was extremely isolated. Like, even when I had friends, you know, I was close to a lot of people and everything, but like just me, like, even amongst my black friends, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was always the warrior of everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was the older kids, you know what I'm saying? I know you remember, like, Vic and Bobby and all of them, you know. But me, in my age, like, I was the warrior out of all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody else, they was kind of like, they got along very well with others. Whereas me, like, I was the rebel. Like, I didn't settle for shit. You're not finna disrespect me in any way. You're not gonna make me conform to any kind of belief system. You're not gonna do any, like, I'm in control of my life. Like, that's how it was. So it, like, forced me to isolate. I was always isolated. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So music was kind of like my refuge. And the more I stuck with it, it was like the more it stuck with me. Right. You know what I'm saying? So as I got older, I found, like, you know, I went to college. I somehow managed to build my own studio. I don't even know how I managed to accumulate the equipment that I had. I still can't think of where I got it from. I remember AJ, he was making beats.
Right.
You remember AJ?
Oh, yeah.
AJ, he was making beats. So he would make beats and I would rap on his beats. This is before I was ever an R&B singer. I was a rapper first. Everybody called me
the Beat Rizzle?
They called me Ricochet at one point in time. My name was Ricochet. Another point in time, my name was Young Brizzle. Oh my God.
Young Brizzle, that's right. Yeah, dude. I remember you came over to my house when I was renting a house in Park Hills, and you came over with that album, dude, and I still got it on my iPod today. My iPod Classic, dude.
Is an OG.
And I'll still listen to occasionally.
I still get people hit me up like,
it was good already. You know, you could see it right then and there. You fucking killed it, dude.
It was like, you knew it was kind of like in my DNA at that period of time. You could tell, like, I wasn't finna stop pursuing it. Like, because, you know, you don't really realize how many people you impact, you know, when you're younger or with anything that you do. You know what I'm saying? You don't really realize it until it's like in your face. And I'll never forget, like, when I first made that mixtape, that Silver and Gold mixtape, that's what I called it. Like, I started to actually have fans. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I had people that literally, like, would hit me up that I have never seen before, never met, never heard of.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you're Young Brizzle. Like, I heard of your mixtape, you know, from Fredericktown. And I'm like, I don't even know people from Fredericktown for real.
Right.
But I know y'all played football. I know Aaron played football in Fredericktown. But, like, just from different places that I've never been. You know what I'm saying? People are starting to tell me, like, that they've heard my music. And, you know, back then, like, in order to get the music, first of all I had was CDs. So you had to have gotten one of my CDs in order to even hear the music. So it's like the footwork that was put into it and just like everything that went into it, like it really left an impact.
You know, paper, people don't understand that hustle with back in the day too. Like you're mentioning like show flyers. You'd have to paper the school. You'd have to paper. You know, you'd get in trouble. Right. Fucking Aaron got arrested in the city for fucking soliciting because he was trying to sell band tickets when he was like 17. You know, like you had to do shit.
You had to put in the work, right?
For sure, to get people to show up because I've played shows with thousands of people there. I've played shows with 10 people there. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And I can tell you, at least for me, the same amount of work went into it, but just the results aren't always as rewarding. And you got to put in that effort, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, kind of, who were your bigger influences whenever you were getting started? Who would you say kind of most inspired you?
You know, I would definitely say DMX was one of my biggest influences. He was one of my favorite rappers.
Yeah, me too.
Pac was definitely one of my favorite rappers.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I don't know if you remember a guy that he was one of my cousins that lived down there too. His name was J Red.
Dude, he worked for me briefly. I know.
He was an artist too, wasn't he? I've actually heard of J Red.
Really good.
Yeah, bro. That's my big cousin, and he like used to tell me all the time, like, because I used to follow him around. Like the minute I saw him, I was like, if he was anywhere, I was right next to him, paying attention to everything he was doing. Like when he had shows, I was at his shows. I'm in a couple of his music videos, like. And he used to just always tell me, like, man, just stick with me. Like, you know, if you stick with me. He
was big about the time we graduated high school. Yeah, he was really doing well for himself.
I've definitely heard of J-Red,
But he's a preacher now, or at least he was the last time I spoke with him. Yeah, he's got his own church and stuff. And
wild. That's awesome.
I've seen Cynthia Ingram put up live casts of him preaching and stuff. Like, he does very well. Very charismatic. You know?
Definitely. He always had that in him. Like, he was always, like you said, charismatic. He always had a way with his words, and it's just his demeanor. He, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So you name drop a DMX, you know, number one, I was totally bummed when he passed. Like, you know, and I put up, like, I don't make a habit of putting up too many artist stuff, like the rest in peace stuff and all that stuff typically. Unless it was like really somebody that did something for me, and I always go the rest in power route because, you know, somebody like that had the influence that he did. I feel like even though as popular as DMX was, he was very underrated.
Oh, dude, if you were a '90s
like,
kid,
people don't respect him.
Extremely. You know? He should have been next to. He should have been like he should have been mentioned with the greats. To be honest, bro, like the Pacs and the Biggies, like
right.
But from his storytelling and just like no one else could outperform him. Like in the rap genre, it wasn't nobody outperforming DMX. Like,
there's nobody that brought the same energy that he brought to the mic, without question. No. So, what's the best DMX album, and why is it Flesh of My Flesh and Blood of My Blood?
Hold on. You say what?
I said, what's the best DMX album, and tell me why it's Flesh of My Flesh and Blood of My Blood.
Hey, you want to know some crazy? You want to know the craziest thing? I was literally listening to Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood today, and I'm sitting in the car, and like right outside of the studio, and while the DMX was playing, like I was just listening to just like all of the elements that went into making music back then. Right. And first of all, his skits, crazy.
Oh yeah, wild.
You know. And like the Damien skits with him and his his songs with the conversations with the devil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They're
his
wild.
love for women. Like, bro, DMX loved women.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and then just like his relationship with God and how transparent he was about it.
Right.
Like, bro, DMX was so crazy, but Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood's definitely the best DMX album.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, dude. It's the great track after great track. Like, I burned that one in the ground without question. And I knew that would get, I knew I'd get a smile out of you on that one.
Definitely.
So I know, after you graduated AV, went to college, so on and so forth, ended up back up in St. Louis. That's, obviously kind of the springboard that kind of got you going. I feel like I know you opened for Bone Thugs at one point. There was all kinds of shit that you did that you could just punch off on your credentials. Was that the purpose of moving up to St. Louis? Was it to seize those opportunities, or what was the real purpose of moving back up to St. Louis?
Honestly, it was a combination of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, one, I felt like there was a part of my culture that I was missing out on.
Absolutely.
Growing up down there, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really fit in because, like, as much as I wanted to, I had friends that I embraced and I took in, and I loved. Like, we had the same DNA. You already know that. You know, I still think about my first time having a turkey burger was at your pop's crib. You know what I'm saying? Like, the love that I have for you guys alone, like, it's just crazy, Yeah. But, like, I know, like, growing up there was a part of me that I was missing.
Right.
And so I decided, I wanted to connect more so with my family and just where I come from, my roots, you know what I'm saying? So that was one major part of it. And then, like, the music, like, I felt like I had way more opportunity, like, where we were growing up at, like, it's like you had this, like, stencil of what steps you should take in order to, evolve. And it's just like, I just didn't really believe in that. I've always been the type to be like, this is my future. I'll take it into my own hands.
Definitely.
It's my life. No one's going to tell me what to do with it. And so, I kind of went back to where it all started, and that played a huge part in it. It's so funny that you mentioned the Bone Thugs. You mentioned the Bone Thugs concert because, I don't want to draw it out too much, but I actually had a vision when I was still living there in Park Hills. I had a vision about my future, and it revolved around the city and my music and all kind of shit. And it's crazy because, like, the vision that I had, like, I didn't realize what it was at that period of time, but, like, the fact that I still remember every detail today, and just where I am today, like, it showed me that it was a vision. But I had a vision about my future, and I knew that it required me leaving.
Sure.
It required me leaving AV. It required me leaving Park Hills. So,
right.
Yeah.
Once you got up in St. Louis, I'm sure there's some people that you hooked up with, maybe frequent collaborators, maybe there's a mentor perhaps in the scene. Is there anybody in particular that, that you could tell us about that really helped you once you got into St. Louis?
Sheesh, it's so many. I don't even know where to start. When I first got up to St. Louis and I started doing the music shit, I ended up joining a group called Blended Image, where they actually encouraged me to sing R&B, more so versus rapping. And I was like, if I wasn't with y'all, my family's full of gangsters. Like, it's like, what the fuck I look like singing R&B, And then even my mama a gangster. But, like, once I started getting into the R&B, I realized, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, the response that I was getting from the people and just how it made me feel, just how singing made me feel. Right. I was like, okay, yeah. So definitely all the guys from Blended Image, you know what I'm saying? Like, they took me in. They taught me everything I needed to know, like the fundamentals of singing. And then, like, I just started randomly singing in public places everywhere. You know what I'm saying? I ended up randomly meeting a guy. His name was Orlando. He used to throw the all-white cancer survival balls where he'd bring Nelly, Vivica Fox, like a lot of celebrities to the city. He had his own label in the city. I ran into him. He ended up being, like, later on in life, when I first met him, I randomly met him, like, in the Del Mar Loop I was singing, and then he you know, he was like, okay, I see you, you know. And, it was kind of one of those interactions. But then, like, once he seen me later, like, I want to say, like, a year later.
Yeah.
I find out, like, he had the plug to the pageant. He was, like, one of the main bookings for talent for the pageant. So anytime, like, big groups or big artists came to St. Louis, if I wanted to perform, all I had to do was call Orlando. He made sure I got on the ticket. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome.
So he definitely played a huge part in me building my fan base, and also just my family. My cousins, they had like one of the big, like most popular tattoo shops in the city. You know what I'm saying?
That helps.
Everyone would come through there.
Yeah.
We were pretty well connected with certain organizations like BMF and things like that. So like when rappers came to the city, a lot of them came through to the tattoo shop. And so like I got to build a bigger platform for myself even then, because we were throwing parties in clubs and all kind of shit. So it's like I was always like put in the forefront, like on display, you know, to just kind of help me build my persona and who I was and build my brand off of that. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, so there's two different things that you mentioned of stuff that I've come across that you've done over the years. I noticed that you were singing, it looked like to be in a bar or a restaurant or something, kind of a cappella style, but a saxophone was playing behind you. A guy was playing saxophone. And I think it was perhaps with regards to like a memorial or something to someone. Do you know what I'm referring to by chance?
I'm trying to think, because I know we've had live bands a couple times. I want to say you're probably talking about the all-white. It was an all-white concert that we did a long time ago at the Rustic Goat.
Rustic Goat sounds right venue-wise, but, well, I wanted to bring it up because it was just a different take on anything else that I'd ever seen you do before even. You know, this guy was just kind of low-key, just playing some accentuating notes on the saxophone. You started it off singing a cappella all by yourself. And then it was like you guys just started vibing together after a couple of minutes of getting in. It was just you and a saxophone, and I was captive, you know. So that, again, that was just another thing that speaks to, you know, you're not a one-lane artist. You've got all kinds of abilities, you know. So, you know, and it's on YouTube. You can, if you're looking for Bryan Jones, Jones Rose, Jesus Rose, like Bryan's all over the place. So there's plenty of content out there for you folks to check out. But yeah, dude, I think that really speaks to your abilities and just kind of who you are. You know, you don't say no to anything too. You know, the only thing you turn down is the sheets, brother. But, you know, one thing I wanted to ask you, too, were you signed at any point when you were in St. Louis? Was there any particular affiliation that you had up there?
Yeah, so one of the biggest opportunities that I had in my life was I ended up getting signed with basically like a label management company, super independent, super small. There's a lawyer, his name is Daniel Brown. One of the most genuine guys I've ever met in my life. Genuinely believed in me. Him and a producer named Willie Woods, they created a label called Risk Factor. Mm-hmm. And so that label, that's when people started seeing me make music videos and stuff like that, because we started to begin to have like more investment. We started to have more, you know, just quality people and situations and timing and everything, just opportunity. That's the word that I was looking for. Quality opportunity.
Right.
You know, because those people had the plugs to, you know, the legal side of it, the professional side of it. You know what I'm saying? They had access to producers. They had their own recording studio. You know what I'm saying? But that was at a period of time where like my vocals were kind of rocky. So it was like the producer was always like, you might as well stick to rapping. You can't even sing for real, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, people just like you because you look good and this and that. And I'm like, what? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I've read into that too, man. You run into people sometimes that are just fucking hate themselves, quite frankly, and they take it out on people. They want to squash everybody else's dreams. Like, anytime I've ever recorded an artist or had good recording experiences myself, it's always, I try to be like positively affirming them, or like maybe we try this a different way, more of a positive reinforcement. I've always had way better results than talking down to people.
Right.
You don't get, you attract more bees with honey rather than smoke, you know what I'm saying? So, you don't need to, I don't think anybody, and that's, kind of like my management style too at work. Like I don't go around yelling at people. You get nothing done that way.
Right.
And then you lose the respect of the people that you're working with.
It's counterintuitive.
But, I wanted to highlight too, a large part of who you are, your package, fitness and nutrition. You're always looking good, always keeping that dialed in. I know you're a gym rat. I know you go in early in the morning, usually and trying to get your workout knocked out first thing in the morning. I get up early too, so that's the most of the time we're messaging each other in the morning. But but can you tell us kind of like what your routine is, what kind of diet you're following? I know you're blessed with good genetics, but I know that there's going to be some folks interested in that stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely the discipline is crucial because, my brothers and I, like, we all kind of were the same when it comes to, like, naturally just being athletes. Like, we were just kind of blessed with that. But at the same time, like, because of that, our weight fluctuates up and down super easy. So the first thing definitely is just eating healthy. A lot of the time for me is just meat and vegetables. Like, I don't really, I try my hardest not to eat bread, but I love bread so much.
I hear you, dude. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And then, like, what's even worse than that is, like, pastries. Why are they so fucking good?
As someone that has no discipline, no discipline at all, I understand your struggle.
Yeah, dude, it's hard to beat like a hot and fresh pastry. That's for sure, man. I'll fucking destroy.
My favorite pastry is this thing called a brookie. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a brookie, but it's a brownie and a cookie in one.
I've had that. I just didn't know that's what it was called. I didn't know it was
called either, yeah.
Dude, bro, one year for Christmas I was broke, so I made everybody some of those, but I got like the Ghirardelli mix and shit, so it was like high-end stuff.
Hard, yeah.
Yeah, and I fucking chopped that shit up, put it in tins, and gave it to like my mom and my sisters for Christmas, and they were like, and my mom's even diabetic, and she fucking destroyed it. Hey, I wanted to ask you too. I know you kind of talked about we weren't really even sure how you procured some of your recording equipment and gear and all that type of stuff. Speaking of which, I was going to ask you, like, what's your kind of go-to? What's your workflow look like in a day for you? What kind of programs do you go to? Are you particular with mics? Do you got any, lanes that you go in specifically when it comes to that stuff?
And honestly, it just depends on the sound that I'm going for when it comes to my microphone. Right now, I'm using the Neumann. I don't remember which one this is, the smaller Neumann. But we got it inside of a Chaotic eyeball. I flip the camera around too, because I'm always in this bitch. But
yeah,
we got the KRKs, the 8s, the 5s, everything. Yeah. We run everything through an Avalon. I love the hardware more so than like just the digital. Digital is cool, but like it's analog, it just sounds so good,
authentic sounding.
It's got way more of a warmer sound.
Right.
Analog forces you to honestly be a better musician, I feel like, an artist. There's a lot more blood, sweat, and tears that goes behind analog versus digital.
Right.
I always looked at digital as kind of cheating, but you got to be adept with digital to be an artist today too. So you can't be too, unless you're up in that, obscene, like Foo Fighters level, or a big like Snoop Dogg, there you can make your demands, pick out all the green M&Ms,
right. Just tell
that sort of thing.
Company what you want.
You have to be flexible this day and age.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I went to school for the music production and engineering too, and they basically like taught me how to engineer my own self, which is something that I wanted to do for a very long time.
Absolutely.
So 9 times out of 10, I'm in the studio by myself. So Pro Tools is my best friend. I love Pro Tools, and everything that, honestly, bro, like I don't know how. To this day, bro, I'm a firm believer in manifestation. I'm a firm believer in like, you know, creating your reality.
Yeah,
you know, what
positive
I'm
affirmations
not to say that, you know. Well, I guess in a sense it isn't a type of magic, but like you kind of just, you know, when you want something, you make it happen. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
just no excuses.
There's no fairy godmothers coming out of the sky to, you know, bestow these things on you. You know, nothing in life is given. You have to take it. You have to seize the opportunities for sure.
Exactly. I honestly, bro, like my first rigs, you know, I actually still have the microphone. My first rigs, most of them were like equipment was just somehow just given to me. I don't even, some shit like, this is one of the first microphones I still have it to this day.
Yeah.
But like most of the stuff, like it was just given to me, bro. I don't know how in the world, you know, I just managed to acquire dope shit.
Right.
And I know it was literally because God heard me being like, you know, okay, well, I'm tired of paying $75 an hour for quality studio time and this and that, and I can do it all myself. And I'm tired of telling the engineer how I want my vocals to sound. And,
right.
you know, I just got tired of all of these things.
Absolutely.
And, like, I started focusing on doing it myself, and, like, things started coming to me piece by piece. Of course, I made my own investments as well, but, you know, some things, it was just God, bro.
I wanted to talk to you about your schooling, too. Did you not go to Nelly's recording studio?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to the Extreme Institute 1 year, and then I ended up getting shot, and I stopped going to school because of it. And I took some time off, and then I realized that I was upset because I wasn't going to class because I loved going to school for music. You know, like, first of all, like in high school, you know, I was always smart. School was always easy. You know, I was suspended for a lot of it. I'm surprised I wasn't in alternative school for a lot of high school, but I still managed to fucking get good grades in high school. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, in college, I was a 4.2 GPA, director's list, dean's list student. Like, I just loved it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to, So after I got shot, I stopped going for a while. And then I just realized, like, man, I really loved going to class for that. You know, like, the things that I was learning and the people that I was around, you know, one, you know, I don't know how, but, and it's going to sound kind of arrogant, I hope it doesn't, but, like, I always managed to, like, be ahead of the game, you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas, like, everyone was in the class, like, trying to figure out how to make beats, my teacher was always coming to me like, bro, like, who the fuck taught you how to make beats? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Crazy thing is, though, I was learning with everyone else. I just loved it so much that, like, when I wasn't in class, like, I was working, figuring out how to perfect it. You know, I loved mastering my craft. You know, when it came to even just like the terminology, when it came to like Pro Tools and shortcut keys and all of the different things, like at that period of time, which a lot of that shit I don't even really be using anymore. But, you know, while I was in class, I was just so obsessed with figuring it all out myself and being my own boss that, like, I was ahead of my class. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was easy for me to get to a point where, like, I would literally, like, go to the class, take the test, hurry up and leave. Like, leave while everyone is still taking their tests. I leave the classroom to go to the studios, and while everyone's taking tests, you'll hear me knocking in the fucking studio. I got the speakers turned all the way up, blasting beats and recording music. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the school, like they knew, like, niggas knew, like, if I left class, I'm probably going to get up in the middle of class and leave. And if I do, I'm not coming back until it's time for me to get my book back.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I'm in the studio locked in, like, you know, so it was dope, though. You know, I had people that, like Carl Napa, he produced for NSYNC. He had over 11 million records with NSYNC alone. You know what I'm saying? My music business coach, teacher, his name was Josh. He was signed with Young Money, Cash Money. He worked hand in hand with Birdman and all of them. Yeah. All the time. He loved, bro. He was one of my favorite teachers, cool as hell. I had to smack a kid in his class one day, but, you know.
Yeah. I hear you, dude.
Still.
Hey, man, you got to put people in their place sometimes. You got to resort to that. Hey, how did you end up in LA? You know, from St. Louis, and how long have you been out there now? I know it's been a few years now, right?
Yeah, it's actually only been a year, man.
Okay.
It seems like it's been 10, but
yeah,
bro, I'm gonna tell you the craziest shit, right? So I moved to St. Louis, and we grinded it out, and I ended up getting a song. I featured on a record with an artist named Gusto. We had a song called Club Banger.
Yeah,
Mind you, this is like after I done built my own buzz in the city. So it's like, as far as R&B goes, like I took over the R&B scene in the city, just because like there was artists that were super talented, but like it was kind of like I was always told like I had the full package. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The image, the drive, the talent,
Sing,
just the
dance,
everything. You know. Yeah, so like it was kind of like the R&B scene, like that was my scene. So when it came to doing features, like people hit me up, and me and Gusto ended up having a song that grew legs and took off, which got me introduced to the real music industry, like really locked in, where we were getting music checks, real music checks. And you're starting to have to figure out, like, at that period of time, we saw a lot of money, but, that's because I hung out with drug dealers, and, it was just always cash. We didn't know that when somebody wires me $20,000, the bank's going to take a big chunk out of my fucking money. You know what I'm saying? Like, we started making money, you know what I'm saying, with the music shit. So
for sure,
I started traveling more, and I met this girl, and she was a model, and an actress, and she was like deep in the industry, bro. Like I'm talking about Drake, Young Thug, fucking Ace Hood. Honestly, any rapper that you can think of, she's been in their music videos. She was a video vixen type shorty.
I got you.
Beautiful, G, beautiful.
I believe
it. We had the same birthday, and so like when it was my birthday, I was on the Explorer page, and she ended up seeing me and commenting on my photo and telling me happy birthday, and that we had the same birthday. And we just stayed locked in, and she actually ended up becoming my girlfriend. So for a year, I was flying out to LA visiting her, and she was flying back to St. Louis visiting me, and we were just locked in, And one day she was just like, I think you should move to LA. Like, it'll be good for your career.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you should... Like, I think you've done as much as you can do in your city. Like, St. Louis is not, where you're really going to take advantage of your full potential. So I was just like, man, like, I went back and forth with myself with it for a minute. But then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? And, honestly, she was right. I ended up linking up with a legend and kind of changed my life. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Hey, man, couldn't have happened to a better person for sure, without question. So this was you hooking up with her about 2020? Is that right in the timeline?
Yeah. Crazy enough, man, 2019, I was like pursuing music heavy, but I was sleeping in my car behind the Pepper Lounge, downtown St. Louis, and that was like the summertime. And then like by December, I had got a single deal, and we got opportunities and started making some money. And, by 2020, about 2020, I was flying back and forth from here to St. Louis, and then 2021, like smack dab in the middle of the pandemic is when I moved out here to LA.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask you the year, because that's about the time that Love Hurts came out, right? Yeah. And I would assume that she was a lot of the inspiration behind that album that you did under just the Jones Rose moniker at the time. And I messaged you and I told you how much I love that album. I was talking it up before we got on the show to Josh. I'm like, man, I hope he fucking like incorporates this with his new singles and does a full length. Like, this shit is so good. I was telling Josh, like, you could fucking sell out stadiums with that, dude.
I appreciate it,
I'm
bro.
in love with it, man. The lyrics are fantastic. I wanted to ask you, and I do want to get a little bit deeper into that album in particular, if you don't mind.
Definitely.
But I know you released that under Jones Rose, and then the name changed to Jesus Rose. What was the cause for that as well?
Man, it's a combination of things, you know what I'm saying? I've always been like a very spiritual being when it comes to, just me as a person, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've always kind of had like a pretty big heart, regardless of like my bad attitude. At times, it was always out of love, and that was kind of one thing. Like the selflessness, people would recognize me for that, and then like, you know, just I can't deny like all of the blessings that came about. You know, I managed to do some things that almost seemed impossible a lot of the time. Like, and I knew it wasn't just me. It was kind of like a power that was outside of me, but inside of me at the same time, you know? So, but it really like became my name when one day I came to the studio. It's so fun. It's so crazy. So I came to the studio. So I moved to LA. I in a place where it's like I'm depressed because I'm like questioning if I made the right move. I have no friends, no family here, you know, like I don't know what to do when it comes to like who to network with, and I'm just lost. You feel me? Like I'm surviving off of my savings account.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the middle of the pandemic. I don't know if y'all know, but LA was like strict when it came to the pandemic.
Oh yeah,
you know?
California.
So
I've got a buddy that lives out there still. Garrett Gatson. You might have remembered him. He was briefly a Davey. He lives out there. His girlfriend Diamond, and you might know her. She was a pretty popular model, singer, stuff in St. Louis, and she moved out there to pursue more opportunities as well. But the two of them live out there, and he was always telling me how wild shit was on lockdown out there.
Bro, it's crazy.
And
so like, imagine like trying to find
guy.
a job and then trying to, you know, pursue the music industry. The music industry was basically shut the fuck down. Like, you could barely do anything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you know, they wanted me to be vaccinated, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, but I just cannot put this foreign substance in my body. No offense to anyone who feels like that was a good decision for them, but it just didn't seem like the right decision for me. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like, it made it even more harder because I wasn't vaccinated. So I was just going through a tough time, and then like one day I was in the house and my girl was mad at me because she felt like I was like stuck in a victim mentality. So she went to Atlanta to do some work. She was shooting some music videos in Atlanta, and while she was like, while I'm gone, you better figure this shit the fuck out. So I was just like, damn, like, you know, I sat and I just talked to God, and I was like, he like kind of cleared some shit up for me. Like, what the fuck are you tripping for? Like, you have over 1 million streams on a record that you freestyled for 5 seconds on. Like, you made big checks off of it. Not only that, but you made real connections in the industry. You have people in LA. What are you tripping for? Right. So once I thought that to myself, I made some phone calls, and they introduced me to this guy named Greedy Greg. And Greedy is, I don't know if you know who DJ Quick is. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Greedy Greg created DJ Quick. You know, DJ Quick's entire fucking career is attributed to Greedy Greg. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like,
and I've heard you shout him out in other interviews too. I know you did, the Cooking in My Backyard or whatever that show's called. And that,
Rappers in My Backyard. Shouts out to Rappers in My Backyard.
Oh, yeah.
But Greedy Greg basically, I called him up. Well, I called up a guy from the marketing team from the label. He was like, well, I can introduce you to some people, but, you know, you got to show up and you got to show out. These guys ain't, you know, they don't just fuck with everybody. So I was just like, all right, well, whoever you introduce me to, they're going to get the best of me, you know? Yeah. So he ended up calling Greedy at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and Greedy was like, all right, send him to the studio, 6 o'clock tomorrow. I was like, bet. You know, so I showed up with the bells and whistles on.
Hell yeah.
And apparently Greedy had been retired from music for hellas, and he was just investing in movies and shit like that. His wife works for FX. She's a writer-producer for FX.
Wow.
So she worked on Snowfall, American Horror Story, Mayans, all kind of shit, bro. Like,
nice.
Yeah, so he kind of was in the movie and the TV industry. He kind of gave up on music, but when he met me, I kind of pulled him out. So, like, and before me, it was like 40 artists that they had brought to him, and it was like, yo, like, the A&Rs was bringing artists to him. He'd shut it down every time. He's like, nope, I don't want to work with artists. I'm done with music. I'm done with it. But 30 minutes in the studio with me, he was like, I want to work with you.
Yeah, lit a fire under him.
Yeah, so, like, from that moment, like, every time he'd be like, yeah, so I got this artist named Jones, the A&Rs would be like, you mean Jesus? Because it got to be Jesus that made you, you know, want to come back to the music industry. We've been bringing you artists for years, and you keep turning them down. So every time my name came up, they was like, Jesus. And they kept saying it. So one day he looked at him and he was like, so what should his last name be?
Yeah, that's funny. That's fantastic, dude.
So I came in one day and they was like, we're going to call you Jesus. You need something that's going to really,
And it kind of comes out with the double meaning, too, with Rose as well, even though it's the spelling of the flower, you still have those religious connotations and homages as well. So it kind of ties everything, because I know you're spiritual as well, and then that story, it's kind of wild how those two things came together.
Yeah, just everything. Honestly, man, like, you don't realize it, man, but, every decision that you make, is fueled, like, it's all fueled by your thoughts and, the people that you come into contact with. You don't, like, randomly run into those people. Those are people that, you attracted. God heard your prayers. He heard your thoughts. He heard your wants and needs, what it is that you truly desired, and he granted it. And it's up to you to really, like, notice it. So, like, every single opportunity and step and every trial and every test and every person and every situation, they all led me up. You don't realize what part they play until later on when you introspect and you go back and you think about it. But they all led up to me being right here. You know what I'm saying? And where I'm going to end up in the future, it's all going to be, basically predicated on the fact that I started here. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you never know what's good or what's bad or how it's going to affect your future until you get to your future. And then you realize, like, damn, I'm grateful for those moments, because, where I'm at right now, bro, like, I'm working with A-list celebrities every fucking day. I don't work a regular job, nigga. I get to fucking go to work and shoot music. I'm tied in with all of the biggest production companies. I done worked with Ben Mark. I done worked with Lyrical Lemonade. I done worked with everybody. I done been a model in so many music videos. Imagine getting paid to just come to the music video and
just show up, hang out.
Just hang out. Like, I done worked with YG. I done worked with Mooski. I done worked with Mozzie. I was just on set the day before yesterday with what's her name? Not Jordan Sparks. What's her name? Seven Streeter. I just got a text. We're about to fly to Miami and shoot some music videos for some artists in Miami.
That's awesome.
Like, hell yeah, dude.
It's crazy, but it's all of the steps that got me here that was the most important part. And I think that's kind of where, like, the spirituality and, just my being, like, it all plays a part,
Yeah. I told you I was going to come back on this, and I got to dig in a little bit deeper, because I'm serious, man. I love the Love Hurts album. And there's definitely some themes going on that album. In particular, I feel like there's a lot of vulnerability in that album. You're exposing yourself. How to love all day. Those tracks in particular are great examples of that. And I kind of hit on a little bit earlier that your previous relationship is probably an inspiration for that album in and of itself. Can you elaborate on that any more?
Every single record on that album was inspired by my previous relationship. There's not one record that was not inspired by it. Honestly, like, I love that record and hate it at the same time, because I know for a fact that album, I was literally, like, mapping out what was going to happen from start to finish in my relationship during that project. Because of most of the stuff that happened in my relationship happened after I made that project. You know what I'm saying? Like, like when I wrote, like, it basically, like, it started off like with a skit where I was like, I was always taught, you'll lose all the money in the world. I mean, you'll gain all of the women in the world chasing the bag, but you'll never lose, your bag chasing. I mean, you'll lose your money chasing women.
Right.
And, like, it was just so crazy because, like, I moved from, small town to LA, where I'm dating one of the biggest models, low-key, in the industry at that period of time. She's used to a certain lifestyle that I wasn't even familiar with, low-key. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know.
And that has to come with its insecurities as well. You know, I'm sure that came with its own, you know, challenges.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a million things that played a part. But, like, you know, before I even realized what it was going to be, I basically spoke it into existence on that project. And then on How to Love, you know, I had to be really honest and open about the fact that, you know, be like, you know, my mom did everything for me and my brothers,
right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I never really seen a healthy relationship or marriage or no shit like that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like, you know, I kind of needed guidance on almost like what my role as a man was supposed to be in a relationship in a sense, and just how to manage my emotions and just all kind of things, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it was, you know, just throughout that entire thing, like, you'll get a real life story of what my relationship is, because
you know, there's so much relatability on that album. Like, I know that Josh could even elaborate, because Josh essentially was raised by his mother, and she went to school to be a nurse to do better for them in the midst of working full time and going to school, and then finally becoming an RN. But that wasn't even until toward the end of Josh's high school years. So there was a lot of hard times for Josh living inside of apartments, so on and so forth.
Yeah, we hopped a lot of apartments.
Yeah, and I can speak for the relationship side of things, because, you know, my mom and dad eventually divorced before my dad passing as well a few years down the road. But you know, they were, quite frankly, they didn't have any business being married. They were constantly fighting. They were cut from two entirely different cloths, total opposites. Yes, opposites attract sometimes, but this was like toxic, you know?
Yeah.
So I find myself, I found myself today, even, you know, I'm married now and been with Pam for 13 years. But it's like, if you think you know it all, you don't. And there's always something to learn. There's always room for personal growth. And it's easy to take advantage of people that are around you so much in that way too, because you have been given so much slack and the freedom to be yourself. You get so inside of yourself, though. You don't consider those others around you and the impact that your actions, your words take, even if it's meant as an innocent comment or joke. And this even happens in short-term relationships, if you will. But, you know, there's a lot of, to get back to the record, there's a lot of relatability, and it talks about a lot of these themes, specifically on Love Hurts. And I want to commend you for the lyrics, too. I mean, that's one thing in the R&B game. You have to have catchy, witty lyrics, so on and so forth. I know it's simple, but, like, whenever you popped up with that line, when you naked, you dressed to kill, I was like, this motherfucker, this son of a bitch, he's fucking turning them sheets down. You know? But All Day, I love. It's probably my favorite on. I love them all, but the reason that one connected with me so much, it just reminded me of young love and the excitement that comes with that. And then some of your lyrics, it's just the repetition creates an earworm. So there's a lot of things going on, you know, from a technical standpoint, musically there, to really sink the hooks in. And it's a short song. I think the runtime's like at 3 minutes, maybe a little bit under that. But, I mean, I can listen to that song on repeat for, you know, infinite amount of time, because it just really struck a chord with me. It reminded me of the early incarnations of all my relationships and them getting off the ground. I think one of the lines is something to the effect of, you know, we didn't even have a ride, but we were figuring out how to get together. Essentially, was, you know, to paraphrase, it's where that was going, you know. So I that's another aspect of your artwork that you put out, is the relatability that you bring to it.
Yeah, crazy enough, man. All Day was the very first record that I ever recorded for the Love Hurts project, and I'll never forget it. I had some producers that I went to school with came to my house, and I had all the equipment in my house, and they brought their equipment, and we sat down in the basement, and I had my friend over. She's a DJ. Her name's Kimmy New. She was in the room with us, and I was like, what should we talk about? And no, I was like, okay, so I co-produced every single beat that you heard on there. So out of all of the beats that we created, Kimmy, I was like, Kimmy, which beat should we work on? And she picked that one. And I was like, okay. And then Solo was like, so what do you feel on this? And like, right as he said that, Stacy, called me on FaceTime, and I was like, hey, we in the studio session, so do me a favor. Like, I mean, you can stay on the phone, but just, we working. And I propped the phone up on my computer, and I looked at her, and then I just said, you've been on my mind all day, all day, all day, all day. And then, like, from that moment, Kimmy was like, that's it. That's the hook. Like, that's what it is. And so, like, from that moment, I was just like, okay, I fuck with it, you know? And then, like, I started recording it. And then, you know, honestly, like, it's so crazy because I don't write anything down. You know, I'm just now getting in the habit of, like, writing music. Everything I do, I freestyle it. I just record it right then and there. Right. It was just crazy because it just came out like magic, you know?
Dude, it's phenomenal, and for you to reveal that now makes it even more phenomenal to me. That you just like fucking popped off with all that shit. That's incredible, dude. I also wanted to ask you, or actually point out this as well. I feel like with these newer singles that you have coming out too, that there is a little bit of a shift musically. I mean, it's all still in R&B, but you know, like The Bag, you know, that's very energetic. You know, and then Food's is a lane change from that as well. Is this something like methodically that you decided to do differently approaching these songs, or is it just the natural progression? You never put that much thought into it?
It's a combination of the two. Originally, Bag was like 3 years old, like 3 years old. I didn't put it out yet. I just had recorded it. Bag was one of them ones too. Like, I was in the studio with Ashley Booker. He's the producer of Bag, and he turned that beat on, and I loved it. And I just put the headphones in, and I was just like, you know, what are we gonna talk about? You know what I'm saying? Right. We had just went to the strip club with the promoters for Club Banger. We had just went to the strip club, and like I took out I only threw like $200 or $300 of my own dollars, but the marketing team for Club Banger was there with us, and they was giving us stacks of money. Like, here, go throw that. You know what I'm saying? So like, while we're performing on stage in the strip club, we're like throwing crazy bread, and it's like all naked women all around us, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and me, like, I'm kind of
debauchery going on.
Like me though, I'm not really a fan of the strip club because I love this chicken at the strip club. I'm telling you, the best chicken you can ever get. But I just feel like, I don't know, man. It's just something just like, why am I throwing money at this woman to do something that I could definitely have a woman just as fine do for free? It just didn't make sense to me. But then I started taking my girl to the strip club, and I realized it's more fun when you take your girl to the strip club, you know?
It's funny that you mentioned the food at the strip club. There's a place called The Pony in like southern Illinois, and they had a fucking breakfast bar buffet. That they advertise at the side of the highway.
You talking about the little joint just across the river?
Yeah, just right across the river. Yeah. And then they got like fucking aliens in like spaceship hot tubs and limos outside of it. Yeah, dude, it's fucking wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
Sounds lit.
Yeah, it might actually be. I've talked down on it this entire time, but it's probably fire.
Yeah, nah, Bag just so happened to like come out because of that moment at the strip club. It was just like another freestyle where I just reminisced on some shit, and it was just like, you know, came out dope, you know. And me, I'm kind of cocky with my music, you know, especially when it comes to, you know, how I display myself. I display a lot of vulnerability, so sometimes I gotta show my alter ego a little.
Yeah, balance it out. So the Bag's got over 100,000 streams on Spotify alone. Your
incredible
official
work, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And your music video on YouTube's got over 80,000 plays, I think. You know, I wanted to ask you about the music video in particular, the location of the shoot, the people involved. I know you mentioned earlier that Ashley Booker had produced it. So tell me about the music video.
So the club, the location, that's actually a speakeasy, like upscale club in West Hollywood that I used to work at. I ran the security team for there. for their establishment for a while. So I got like pretty cool with the owners, and you know, it's normally like $20K to rent out that club for a music video. I was one of the first to do it, and they gave it to me for free. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Dude, you can't beat that.
Yeah. The models, ironically, there was 2 girls that were dancing on stripper poles.
Yeah.
The brown girl, that's Stacy. That's the girl who I've been making all of the music about.
Oh shit. All right.
So like she was a part of my music journey the whole time. Like she actually, like, for a while, like when I wasn't making music, she was like pushing me, like, why the fuck are you not putting music out? Like she was damn near mad at me. Anywhere we went, bro, I don't give a fuck where we was. We could be in the middle of the strip club in Vegas. She would disappear, and then all of a sudden I'd hear my radio playing in the club, and I'm like, my song playing in the club. I'm like, how the fuck did she do this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But she was beautiful, and she was brilliant. She knew how to use her power, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then like there's a really big white guy in there in the video. His name's Swole. Swole is my man. He's a rapper, but he's also like real life bodybuilding champion. Like,
yeah, he's stacked like a shit brick house.
Like trained by world famous power lifters. Like he's jacked, and so I was actually gonna have him be my security while I'm on the road, but I think he's a little too crazy. I might just,
might hire that out elsewhere.
Yeah, man. And I actually, my boy Dada, he's from Chicago. He shoots videos for like King Louis. He shot some stuff for Chief Keef and a couple other Chicago rappers. Me and him met randomly, and I loved his work. He loved mine. He's actually a producer also. He produces a lot of my shit that y'all gonna hear. So he shot and edited the video. I wrote the entire treatment. I came up with the storyline. I found the location. I hired everyone, paid everyone, told him I came up with everything myself. Like, all he had to do was really just point the camera, to be honest, and it was pretty crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Daryl Buchanan. Most know me as DJ. Swerving Podcast on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Check in every Sunday for the episodes. I got a new podcast called the Big Hungry and Swerve Movie Podcast. I'll be every Wednesday on the same platform. Be sure to check that out. Also got a detailing business. Be sure to check that out. Swerve Auto Detail on Facebook, Instagram. My phone number is 573-327-1473. I run rates at $125 for a full inside and out detail. Have a summer package, you can get you 5 cleans for $225. Like I said, that's Swerve Auto Details on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm your boy, Swerving Podcast, baby.
I was going to ask you next about food. Now, this track's got some straight up D'Angelo vibes, I think. And you got a higher register vocally that you're hitting on the track. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's lyrically like Brown Sugar from D'Angelo, but it also meets the feel, like, musically and the vibe of Untitled. How does it feel? Like,
of course.
I think you're definitely dialing in some D'Angelo vibes on that track.
So it's so funny that you say that, because for the music video for Food, we was literally going to remake the How Does It Feel music video.
Yeah.
Just because it's super easy, low budget, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I got the shape. We was going to add some new school flair to it. I was going to have a bunch of diamonds on, you know what I'm saying, and shit. But, like, for the most part, we was just going to remake that. And then we was just like, I mean, we could do that, but, like, we might spice it up a little bit. I actually just had a meeting with the videographer this morning, because we're about to start shooting the videos.
Yeah.
For all of the new music that's about to come out. And we was like, well, we need one for Food, but, like, we haven't even, like, kept pushing the marketing for Food, because Food is such a asked about record that, like, we can't fumble it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can't be bullshitted. Like, that's like a top tier record. So, like, we kind of paused on it for a minute, and then we're about to, like, go full throttle once the recording of the video happens.
So I got to ask you, what's Food about? Because you're talking about eating and something about people coming. Where are they coming to? Like, what's that all about?
You got to speak in layman terms.
About, boy, I'm talking about eat that pussy.
So you must know something about this this mystery that is the female orgasm.
Hey, man, I'm going to tell you like this, man. You got it.
You knew I had to come in and ask you the most white question ever.
Right. Teach us the
way. I'm dead. Yeah, man, for real. I ain't going to lie to you, fool. Every time, first of all, the album art always gets the women's attention. I don't know if you really paid attention to the album art, but
definitely.
The album art always makes people be like, wait, hold the fuck up. Who's this? What is this? You know? Yeah. And then they hear the notes that I'm hitting and the women just be melting, fool. It just be so crazy.
I'm sure, man.
It's funny you say that because, like, I told my wife you were going to be on the episode, and she's like, oh, yeah, let me hear it. So I showed the music video, and she's like, oh, hey, who's this? And I'm like, oh, here we go, man. Here we go.
For sure. He's easy on the eyes, ladies. So check him out.
It's a blessing, man.
So you kind of alluded to this earlier. Bag and Food are your two new singles, and you've got some new material on the horizon. Is there a chance that you're going to reincorporate some stuff from the previous record? Or are you doing all new stuff here? What's the game plan?
Oh, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I originally mixed and mastered all of the old project, you know, and then I just rushed and put it out. It was just like to basically let myself know, like, bro, like, you can do this on your own. You know what I'm saying? Like, once again, going back to that boss mentality of not relying on someone else to get the job done for me and not making any excuses, just getting it done. So but I realize now with the quality of music that I'm putting out now that there's a lot of things that I could have done differently. So I definitely want to remaster some of the things that was on the old project, and I want to incorporate them on the new.
I'm happy about that. Not that you have to please me, because I thought I saw you put up a little snippet of a video where you were working on one of them songs from that record, and I'm like, this motherfucker's gonna bring this back, and I'm gonna have to get a copy of that.
There's definitely some stuff coming back from that project. That's one of my favorite projects I've ever created, because it is a lot of vulnerability and just a lot of just the flow and the storyline and just the reality of it all. It was just hard for me to not fall in love with that project. You know, so, and I just feel like it can get how you said, it can reach heights that I never saw at the period of time that I released it. So now I'm like, why would I keep it there? I might as well just remaster it and
And you've got
put it out for the
you've
masses.
got a new network now where you're at, and you didn't have those same capacities and abilities whenever you originally did that, as you mentioned in our conversation today. So I feel like maybe you're going to have the right platform this time to broadcast that out and really get the notoriety that you deserve. Not to say that you don't already. You're doing very well for yourself, but I think that you're really about to take off even more so into the stratosphere.
I'm going to say this, man. I can't complain. God has managed to, even in the darkest moments, God has managed to, show me, you just don't give up, because you'll be 3 feet from gold. I don't know if y'all know the story about the 3 feet from gold, but you'll be 3 feet from gold. If you give up, you won't even realize how close you were to making it happen. You know what I'm saying? So every day, I just wake up and I find myself in the studio somehow. Even if I'm not recording music, I just find myself here, and I believe in the process. I trust the process. I don't really follow the norm. Everyone's get on TikTok and do this on Instagram and find all of those clout routes where it's just there's no longevity in that. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're popping a temporary number is what you're doing with stuff like that. It's not to say it doesn't have its day in the sun or a time, place, and manner or whatever, but it's not long lasting.
Right.
Exactly. And I feel I'm blessed enough to where, when I drop, people listen. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really complain too much about that. I just got to trust the process. So,
speaking about social media, obviously we noticed your presence on there. I got quite a few followers on Instagram in particular, but a relevant discussion topic I felt like is too, because we're not far in age from each other either. but how, and I can speak to this from my own personal experiences, how social media and the progression of social media has affected the music business, and obviously progressions of technology and everything else as well. You know, have you noticed any effects that social media has had on your career in particular? Obviously, it's the biggest marketing tool that all of us use, but, you know, can you elaborate on that for us?
Honestly, social media is a blessing and a curse, man. It's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because, like, it is the best, freest marketing tool that you can possibly use. You'll still, if you're really serious, you'll still end up spending money on marketing, but the amount of people that you reach through social media, like, is crazy. Like, I have fans in one of my biggest fan bases is two of my biggest fan bases right now. One is India, which random as hell, and then the other is in Germany. They love my music in Germany. Overseas, I know for a fact that my biggest fan base is overseas, crazy enough. And then now it's like in my city, bro, like, because I marketed hard for my city through social media. Right. And like in my city, there's nowhere that I can go where people don't know me. You know what I'm saying? Like, any club owner, any promoter, any DJ, any artist, any model, anybody that's in this industry, period, like, they know my name. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm blessed where we can walk into places where back in the day I would have had to stand in a line and might not even get in. Now they just be like, oh, let them in. You know, that's broke. You know, I'm shaking hands with great people, and that's all because of social media. More money. I've made so much money off social media, bro. Like, just features alone. My first, like, $1,000 plus feature I made because a guy that I never met in my entire life heard my music on social media and was like, yo, like, I gotta work with you. I'm like, okay, well, it's $1,200 for, you know, a feature. And at that period of time, I'm like, holy shit, I'm gonna charge him $1,200 for a feature. He's gonna pay it. You know, like, at that period of time, that was crazy to me. But, like, you know, that's because of social media. You know what I'm saying? But it's a curse too, because it makes you not work as hard as you need to, as far as yourself. You know, your person. You know what I'm saying? Your the soul of you, your mind,
your essence,
what you can portray and what you really are. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Speaking of features, I did a deep dive to see, you know, some other artists that you had collaborated with. I heard the thing that you mentioned earlier as well. One thing I want to say, and this is not speaking ill of anybody that you did a feature for, but your work definitely stands out in their tracks, and that's obviously the intent of having a feature, mind you. But, you know, you listen to a major label artist and you hear, let's say, a Chris Brown record, and there's a feature from Busta Rhymes. Well, you know, it's Busta Rhymes is on there. You know what you're about to hear, and you expect greatness from all parties involved. But, you know, whenever people are listening to these other artists that you hopped on the tracks for, they're listening to hear that artist. And I feel like if that's their first exposure to you, that you stand out like a sore thumb, but in a good way, because of your talent. You know, you have a unique approach to R&B. I feel like R&B's got a little bit muddied up over the years, and honestly, it's been kind of like the bastard child of the music industry, you know, because it got such a bad rap. The boy bands that basically took over the industry, you know, everything was controlled by 2 or 3 producers for a while. You know, the industry just kind of ran amok of the genre in particular. And I feel like I'm not saying you're reinventing the game, but you're definitely bringing a different element to the game. You know, there's clarity in your voice. I think that you appeal to everybody. And you really, obviously, again, getting back to the features thing, you stand out on all those features, brother. You killed it.
I appreciate you. It's so funny that you said that. Like, that's one of those things where I check my ego every time, because, like, when I'm about to do a feature, my mindset is like, well, I charge this person for this feature, so if I don't do my job on it, like, that's bad. Yeah. But then, like, I always go to the extreme of, but now this is my song. Like, I have to body this. Like, when people listen to it, they have to listen to it because they want to hear me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I always body. I never forget, bro. Like, I was walking on Hollywood Boulevard. There's a Foot Locker over there where, like, they always get the Jordans, and then, like, the first day they'll get the Jordans and they'll sell out, and then, like, a couple days later they'll get a restock. And, like, most people don't realize that they'll get a restock of the Jordans that everyone wants. They sell out. They stand in line forever for it. So I always just wait for them the next restock, and then I'll go and get my Jordans. Right. You know what I'm saying? So there was a particular pair that I wanted, and I went and I didn't have my size, and then I tried on a couple of their shoes and I wasn't happy, and I was like, fuck, like I was pissed because like that's kind of like my thing, you know, like it's like part of my ritual.
Absolutely.
You know. So like I was finna leave the store, and then Club Banger come on in fucking Foot Locker while I'm in there, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you know, it's one thing whenever you're like getting videos from all over the fucking world of people being like, yo, like I'm in Foot Locker right now and Club Banger just came on and they're sending me videos on Instagram. Like that's one thing, because that's dope as fuck.
Right.
But it's another thing when you're in the store and it's your song. Like, you're in there. These people don't even realize, like, who you are, you know, because you haven't really reached that level yet. You know what I'm saying? But, like, my part come on and, like, I'm like, holy shit. So I instantly get on my phone and I'm, like, taking a video. And the guy's like, oh, shit, this is you? And I was like, yeah. He was like, are you the second verse? And I was like, yeah. He was like, bro, you killed that, man. That's my favorite verse on the song. Like, and I don't know, bro. Like, I'm always and you already know this, but I've always been like a competitive person. Like, you know,
but it's a good competitive. Like,
you know, I want to be the best. When it came to hooping, where there was nobody that was faster than me, there was nobody that was strong. I was not going for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it came to playing the drums, you already know how it was. When it came to that shit, I wanted to be the best of the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything. So like when it comes to this music shit, it's like that times a billion. If I'm doing a feature, this is my song. Like, so I appreciate that. And that confirms me.
Yeah, for sure, brother. And you're killing it in every avenue. And you know, going from that social media talk, I have to hit on this while we're on the social media talk. I know, you know, around the pandemic and all the dark times that were going on and all the bullshit, quite frankly, that was taking place, you know, with the atrocities of killings of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, just to name a few. You did some live broadcasts and kind of speaking out against that. And we had talked a little bit right after you had done one of them. And I commended you for, you know, like just going after people and just being like, you know, hey, tell me how this wasn't racism. Tell me how this man wasn't murdered in the streets. Tell me. And I noticed that there was a lot of people in particular that hopped on your feed from like, you know, the Farmington, Central, Park Hills, Arcadia Valley area, and they were being a little combative, if you will. And you were doing a really good job of keeping up with everybody in your chat feed. I mean, it was blowing up, but you were like addressing everybody's bullshit, especially if it was bullshit. You know, if somebody was like, "Oh, we love you, Bryan," you know, people would just hop in and be like, "Oh, we love you, Bryan. We hear you," and you were just like shouting everybody out. But if somebody you caught it every time that some fucking bullshit came across the screen and snuffed it out. I wanted to commend the work that you did there too. But I mean, I guess maybe you just got caught up in the emotion of it, and that's what propelled you to doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I experienced that shit firsthand.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't, you know, what people didn't know was happening was like I was getting bullets in my locker. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was times where like, there was some crazy shit. Like, at one point, there was a kid who was in the hospital, coma, like, fucked up over that racist shit, where he had to catch these hands, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, his mom was my lunch lady, and I would go through the lunch line, and she would just bust into tears. And, like the teachers would see people doing racist-ass shit, and there would never be repercussions behind those actions. It seemed like I was always the one that was suspended, or I was always like, even with the situation with me and Nick, is when like they had trucks full of kids that was calling me and my brothers out. It was only me, Jermaine, Diamond, Carlton, and Alvon. It was us, like, and Carlton's and Alvon's little baby brothers. Like, they're not even out of middle school yet. They're with us, and we're surrounded by these kids trying to fight us. And I mean, everyone knows what happened to one of them, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, it was like a spot, like, from that moment on, it was like war. Every day we was fighting, every day, until we was ran out of the school. Like, I had to go to a whole nother school, over racism. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
well, one thing you haven't hit on, and I can cut it out if you don't want me to bring it up, but the noose thing that took place too, whenever you got that noose thrown up on your guys' doorstep, I remember that vividly.
Yeah,
you were
the noose on my Porsche, the noose on the basketball court. They spray painted swastikas and KKK and all kind of shit. We took the evidence. We took everything to the cops. The cops did absolutely nothing. Luckily, my mom took photos of it on a digital camera because if she wouldn't have, there would have been no evidence. We had to get I had to get represented by the NAACP. The NAACP had to get me a lawyer because, you know, we wasn't making enough money to pay for a lawyer, and I was being tried as an adult.
You were a kid.
You know, I was still a kid, and they was trying me as an adult. You know, so like over self-defense, like I was defending myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I was defending me and my brothers. You know, like I remember one day we was walking home from groceries, and you know, a truck full of boys, you know, pointed a gun out the truck and was like, "Drop it, niggers," and scared the hell out of me and my brothers, you know, because like, I don't know, it's just crazy, bro. Like, I couldn't walk around my town. Like, I grew up in Ironton, bro. I played ball in Ironton. I had family that, you know, we was all like, I don't know, it didn't make sense to me because I was actually in my eyes, I was the least problematic kid. Like, I didn't go looking for shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You just wasn't finna make me do what you wanted me to do. Like, leave me the fuck alone. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To see all of the things that was happening in the world and it being so blatantly obvious. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're literally watching someone's recorded this on their phone and you're watching it happen with your own eyes.
Right.
And for you to, like, not have any empathy for that, you know, or for that person or the people that it affected, it was just crazy to me. You know what I'm saying?
So that's kind of an interesting thing is, too, I wanted to bring up. I think that, you know, there's a lot of virtue signaling that go on, and this is a difficult discussion for people to have. I have no problem having it with you. I think a lot of white people do a lot of virtue signaling. They try to act like that they can understand what black people have been through, African Americans, people of mixed ethnicities, you know, minorities of any sort. They can't. It's not possible. We can be sympathetic, but we really can't be empathetic.
Speak to it, right?
You know, we can't put it into action in the sense of, you know, it doesn't happen to us, and it hasn't happened to me, quite frankly. I mean, I've had people say racist things to me about me, but it's easy for me because I've been in the majority my entire life, you know, so I find it kind of comical if somebody comes at me with that type of comic. And my opinion has always been like, well, my people probably deserve something like that at this point, you know, and for hundreds of years of oppression, you know, is absurd.
And for me, I think that's why it's so important to have these conversations, continuing to have these types of conversations, you know.
And it's clearly still an issue present day.
Oh, absolutely.
With the things we just mentioned, and there's tons of things that's even happened since. It's hard to even keep up with it, you know, constantly. And I think there is definitely a need for addressing police reform in particular. You know, there was a movement a few years back. It was like, we're going to believe in women, the Me Too movement. But, and I'm not trying to discredit that, but, you know, still yet, are we listening to black voices? Because I really feel like we're not, quite frankly.
Right.
Yes, the George Floyd thing did change a lot, but unfortunately that had to happen to make changes, you know? And it's not worth a person's life for that to have had to have happened, you know, fortunately and unfortunately.
Right.
You know, at least things are starting to move in a direction that they need to, but we're still not where we need to be.
It's like, and the thing is, like, for a very long time, like, I was upset because I felt like, you know, and this is going to be a pretty crazy perspective for, you know, people to hear me say, but for a while I was like, really, really upset because I felt like people didn't really care. But then, like, I just kind of stopped caring if people cared. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, history has a way of doing what it's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And what people don't realize is there's a bigger picture behind all of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why, you know, African Americans particularly, you know what I'm saying, are targeted the way that they are and treated the way that they are, and why they're kept on a lower vibration. There's a reason why, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really going to go into the details as to why, but, like, I realize now that the only way things can really change is it has to start within my community first. Like, it has to start within, like, our culture first. You know, we can't really do anything about, for example, like, Black Lives Matter. Like, I'm going to be real with you. Like, I was never a fan of Black Lives Matter, the organization. I'm not a fan of them because they don't do anything for the community.
It's another political organization that's controlled by money, and that's what happens when you get with these political action committees and what have you. Once you introduce politics into things, that's when things start getting sticky.
Right.
Exactly. And so like once you start to see that we're being exploited for our resources, like our energy, like you're using Black Lives Matter as an opportunity to capitalize off of the deaths of our people and the bullshit, you know what I'm saying? And then like, not only that, but like the media twisting shit to make it seem a type of way made it so crazy. Because like I've been smack dab in the middle of them protests, you know what I'm saying? I've been there. I've seen like people talk about Antifa and all of that shit, bro. Like I seen the white boys in the big ass boots with the all black on, like fucking shit up, and then you'll see the black people trying to stop them from fucking shit up because it's making them look bad. You know what I'm saying? Like I've realized that a lot of the people that did a lot of the looting, people don't even realize most of them people was from out of town. They weren't from here. You know, they wasn't from St. Louis. They wasn't from Ferguson. You know what I'm saying? Like it was so much weird ass shit. And then you really start to like see what's going on when you start to see like black people in political power in St. Louis. Like sometimes like their people were being killed. You know what I'm saying? Or, it was just a lot. I don't really want to speak on too much because I feel like, when you're black and you're aiming for a position of power and you speak about things, something happens to you a lot of the time. And I feel like I'm going in the direction where it's like I have the ability to affect my people how I need to. I'm not going to fuck it up before I get there. If anything, y'all going to have to kill me at the height of my career where I'm able to actually feed my people how I need to feed them. You know what I'm saying? But like, to be all the way honest, bro, like, there's a lot of weird backwards ass shit that people don't even realize is going on. So, but to speak on it on social media, like I had to because like, I didn't want to do it because I hate the attention that comes behind it. Because I'm not really, even though I'm an artist, I'm not really an attention person. I feel like when I'm performing, like that's like another person that you guys are experiencing. That's not me personally. That's not my emotional self. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not the direct, connection to my soul. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of like
that's an extension of yourself.
I gave that to you. You know what I'm saying? So like, but when it comes to like that, you get to see me, my real emotion, my real thoughts, my real everything, and how it affects me. And I don't really believe in exposing those weaknesses to my enemies, especially. And I feel like a lot of those people that we, in those towns that think the way that they think and, believe how they believe, I view them as my enemies. I don't view them as just people who, they just got different beliefs. No, those are my enemies. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's a primitive mindset, and it's difficult to combat ignorance. Ignorance is the lack of knowledge, and some people turn a deaf ear to that. They don't want to be educated.
Well, a lack of education turns into, following cult movements. Lack of education turns into
absolutely,
neo-Nazi beliefs.
Yep.
Lack of education turns into, the inability to think for yourself. And once you are at the will of someone else's control, you are then their soldier. Yep. You are then their servant.
It's that gang mentality.
Exactly. So, and once you become that, you're a bot. You're a robot. You're the opposition.
So I wanted to turn back into your work and talk about some of the collaborations that you'd been on previously. We hit on that briefly. And you also talked about the group that kind of springboarded your career in St. Louis. Is there any other stuff that you have in the works as far as collabs are concerned that you can talk about?
Well,
can't talk about it.
I've collabed with some really dope producers. I'll say that. I'd say the producers for sure. My man Corey's done stuff for B2K, Beyonce, a lot of people. I would say my boy Dada. Dada's done things for everyone, in the rap industry. All of the Chicago drill rappers, all of them. Dada's produced like 80% of the new music that I have right now. As far as like features, I don't know if I can really disclose those right now.
Right on, man. That's okay. I just said you gotta
wait a little bit, but there's definitely like some label talk in the works right now.
Well, good.
I don't really believe in like exposing too much until it's inked and on paper.
Absolutely, for sure.
So
definitely happy for you though.
Yeah,
but there's definitely some real conversations in the works right now. We're kind of fishing because the platform that we have mixed with just the connections that Greedy have, and I done managed to do some dope shit. Nipsey Hussle's one of my favorite artists in this entire world. I'll say this because Nipsey isn't an artist. I don't know if I plan on dropping this record anytime soon, but like I used to talk about having a feature with Nipsey all the time, bro. Like he was just someone that I like looked up to so heavy, and now I have a Nipsey Hussle feature. Nipsey used to come to this very studio. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, Nipsey's kind of like one of those guys that's a rapper's rapper. Like, he didn't have the impact on me immediately, and I revisited his stuff after he passed because I saw so many people talking about him. And I was like, I didn't realize his greatness, whenever I actually sat down, played an album from start to finish. And I feel like that's what you have to do with artists is actually give them their due. You really do need to listen to an album from start to finish to at least give them a chance. I try to give everybody a chance.
Well, even kind of have an input on an artist. If you're going to like even talk about an album, you have to listen to the whole album. In my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah. So I will disclose that feature because I don't even know if that song's going to come out because all of the legal stuff that's going on with him. I might drop it on YouTube, and when I do, it'll be like a random like YouTube snippet or a YouTube song that I drop. It probably won't be on Apple Music. I might do it like on SoundCloud just so people can have it. You know what I'm saying? But that's definitely a feature. And then, there's some legends that are definitely being featured on the next bodies of work, and then some legends though. Like they're not the new. I don't really resonate too well with like a lot of the new guys, man. I feel like they saying a bunch of bullshit. I like real music and
for sure.
All of the 808s. I love 808s and shit, but like I like real music. Like I kind of stepped out of the, the auto tune and
right.
all of the synths and all of the shit
that's all played out.
Yeah, it's inorganic, you know what I'm saying? There's no emotion.
Yeah.
And the shit that I'm making now is Grammy music. The shit that I'm making now got labels banging on our doors, you know what I'm saying? So, and then I'm also doing a lot of collaborations with like influencers, like TikTok influencers and things like that. There'll be more so with like music videos and marketing materials and things like that. I got a couple clients that are dope. Yeah, it's gonna be some dope shit coming.
Hell yeah, brother. Hey, so what's next for you, man?
Man, honestly, I'm gonna say this, man. We got a lot of singles coming. I have actually a poster right here. It has 1,000 sticky notes on it, and it's just like the plan that we have mapped out for we'll probably have like 4 EPs dropped this year. I was gonna release an EP like last month, but right now we're having some opportunities that I'm gonna be honest, like we just feel like the music that we have is bigger than the budget that we have accumulated so far. We feel like we can have more of an opportunity to really take it all the way there with the backing of a label. So we're kind of like deciphering through, we're sifting through emails and phone calls because we have them here now. It's just like now what fits best for us. You know what I'm saying? So we have a lot of bodies of work on this board. You know what I'm saying? Lots of music videos. You guys are definitely about to get some music videos. I'm actually working on a movie now. It's called Blizzardy Summer. It's about a boy who grew up in New Orleans in a very superstitious household. His mom told him not to ever accept shoes from a woman because if you do, then you'll end up walking out of her life. and his mom bought shoes for his dad, and then his dad walked out of his life. So ever since then, like, he's just been super superstitious. And so he moves to Hollywood and he becomes a rapper. And it's hard for him to really elevate in the music game because of all of the superstitions that he has in his head in regards to the music industry, which, if you know anything about the music industry, it's deeper than, you know, what people really know. It's a lot of spiritual shit that's connected to it, and depending on the circles that you're around, and a lot of superstition. And most of the people in the industry are weird, bro. Like, I've seen some weird shit. I done been at the craziest Hollywood parties where I done been at parties where it's like you walk in and you're like, I don't really know if I'm supposed to be here. Like, it's just so crazy. You feel me? It's nuts, but
right.
Lots of dope music and movies and all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying?
So before we wrap it up, I got to ask you, who else is coming up in the rap game or R&B that we need to check out?
Somebody that I fuck with heavy right now is Lucky Day. Lucky Day is a dope artist. R&B wise, he's going back to like the old vibe, and then like he's well crafted. I like the way that they are packaging him as far as like his image and just his style of music. He's also an older artist. He's like 33, 34. No, he won his first Grammy at 36. You know, so it kind of like breaks that stigma of having to be a certain age or, you know, super young in order to be successful in the music industry. Like, you know, he's kind of putting on for the people who make quality music. I would also say, sheesh, that's hard. I'm fucked up because I still listen to like all of the old shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure,
I still
me too.
love all of the old shit.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, all of the female R&B artists are turned up. Kehlani's turned up. SZA.
Hell yeah. Yep.
Doja Cat.
SZA's the hottest woman in the world right now.
SZA's so fine, boy. You know, SZA's from St. Louis.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I didn't know
SZA's
that.
from St. Louis. So, like, you know, that's dope. Oh, I'm going to tell you another artist. There's an artist named Smino. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Smino. Smino's, like, collab with J. Cole. He's on Lucky Day's new album.
Yeah.
Smino's dope as hell, but he's also from St. Louis. He's blowing up right now.
Yeah. So for the show open, I actually allude to a few St. Louis artists, and I name drop Smino in there.
Yeah. Smino is definitely one of them. Me and his brother is actually really cool. So, like, his brother would come over here, and we'll just sit in there and talk business and music, and he'll smoke 1,000 blunts, and we'll play music. Sometimes we'll create, you know, but for the most part,
now you're talking my game.
Yeah, now you're speaking our language, you know?
Yeah. You know what's crazy, bro? Like, I don't smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like, even back in the day, I barely smoked. I don't know if you remember that. Like, I barely smoked. I don't really drink or anything like that. But I'll tell you what I do love. I love mushrooms, bro.
Oh, hell yeah, son.
I love mushrooms, bro. Like, the way that I think whenever I'm, like, tripping is just so different. I done wrote some of the best music I've ever written after a trip. You know what I'm saying? I can't ever create during a trip because I'm just so in the moment. You know what I'm saying? But afterwards, bro, it's like something just like sparks all of the creativity. And I always have these aha moments. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the time. But we can have that conversation another time.
Yeah. I hear you, man. No, one thing with shrooms, actually, I've got a friend that's got really bad anxiety, like crippling, and microdosing has changed his life.
Yeah.
So
I've actually heard about that. Like, I think like Washington State and Oregon, they're actually allowing pharmaceutical companies to produce magic mushrooms for treatment. So,
but you know, like once the pharmaceutical companies get involved, you kind of gotta be careful.
It's a for-profit system, right? Yeah.
It's
not so much about care.
I try to stick with anything that's natural. I don't really fuck with, you know, I'm in LA, bro. So, like, you know how everyone smokes weed, bro. Here, you can go to a fucking dispensary and it's like
weed. We grow weed outside of the studio. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Great weed, by the way. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't fuck with the pharmaceutical shit, man.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither. I try not to anyway, unless I have to.
Right.
I'd be so nervous, bro. Like, I know I've had bad trips on mushrooms. Like I always love them afterwards. I always realize that they're an extremely beautiful experience afterwards. But in the moment, I'd be like,
sure,
I hate it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I could only imagine what some pharmaceutical mushrooms are going to make me feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to know. Yeah. I'm extremely grateful that you guys had me on the podcast, bro. To be able to
thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Dude, we're forever grateful for you coming on.
Yeah, like this is I've done interviews with people often. I've done a lot of interviews with people, but like this one is special to me. You know what I'm saying? So I truly appreciate it.
We appreciate you coming on, man, for sure.
You know, I love you, brother. I'm rooting for you. Better things couldn't happen to a better guy.
Yeah, I'm so excited for your journey, man. See you grow and blossom.
I appreciate it. I can't wait because we're gonna have to have a part 2.
We'll
have to have
we'll have you back on, a little recap.
Let me set the mood. Let me set the mood. It's a dinner for two. But I'm not hungry for food.
Welcome back, folks. Thank you for sticking with us. We, of course, want to thank our awesome and amazing guest, Jezus Rose, Bryan Jones, my good friend.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
We really appreciate you coming on the show, brother. And we hope that we send you some more fans with the net that we cast out there. We're going to cap off the end of the episode with Bryan's single, The Bag. So, guys, stick around to check that out. We want to get some shout-outs and recaps out of the way from recent episodes. So, of course, we want to say once again thanks to Jason Asbury for being on episode 9 of Storm Ruler and promoting what they have coming out and
Hell yeah.
their tour.
Incredibly humble and really appreciate him coming on. That was awesome.
And I know that I got some really good feedback from the episode with Jason.
I did
How about
too.
you, Josh?
Yeah. Actually, I ran into a buddy at Walmart, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I've been listening to every episode. It was so cool of Jason to come on and promote Storm Ruler. You know, love those guys. You know, so that was really cool. So always good to have feedback like that. So
yeah, and guys, keep the feedback coming. We love it. We'll shout you out on the program. Jason, of course, popped us a little bit of a number here, so just kind of let you know how that's going. I was looking at some of the stats, and I saw that Jason, his episode that he was on is already in 4th place for us.
Oh,
so
awesome.
You know, we really appreciate it. We've had some, you know, the Nation on the Devastation Tour, their social media accounts actually retweeted our show.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the links.
I didn't even see that. Was
on
that on
Twitter
Twitter?
and Instagram.
Well, cool.
So
Thanks, guys.
they were promoting us as well, the tour organizers.
Shout out to them guys.
So we appreciate that. Let's talk about what we got going on next week. Next week, we're going to do a deep dive on Jonestown, Jim Jones, the famed cult leader, rooted in somewhat of some Christianity, if you will, but kind of formed into this weird amalgamation of odd beliefs. And we're going to invite our buddy Ridge onto the episode, who's kind of into that sort of thing, just like we are, into cults and secret societies and so on and so forth, like we talked about before. So, and we're also going to have an amazing song debut for a band called Path of Might out of St. Louis. I want to give everybody an opportunity in advance to kind of check them out.
Super excited.
Path of Might has a new record coming out. They're going to be doing a record release show on April 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Red Flag. $15 at the door, all ages. Go and check them out. Path of Might is actually going to allow us an exclusive single to debut on the show, so it's not even out for general consumption right now yet.
So another exclusive for the ATI Podcast.
Yes, so we got another exclusive on the ATI Podcast. We're very excited about Marcus from Path of Might, also of Fister, has been so kind to share that with us, and we're really looking forward to releasing that track for you folks, and hopefully you can make it out to the show. We're going to try and make it out to the show as well and give you some feedback, but we will be dropping that on the same day as the show so that it will be on April 22nd, next Friday. We lastly, and most importantly, want to thank Jezus Rose once again for coming on the show today. As we mentioned, we were going to detail where you can check him out at. Hit up Jezus Rose on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, anywhere that you get your music, Pandora. He's everywhere, and you can't miss him. Jezus Rose is blowing up right now. Jezus Rose is on social media if you'd like to follow him there. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. His Instagram is @JesusRose, Twitter's @JesusRose, and TikTok is @JesusRose. And we want to clarify the spelling on that because it's not exactly how it sounds. So it's @JEZUSROSE. So Rose like the flower, and Jesus, but in a not so traditional sense, you remove the S and put a Z in there. So it's @JesusRose on all of his social media. Can't miss him. And I am Barrett. Instagram, Twitter. You can follow me there at Barry Insane.
And I'm Josh, and you can find me on Twitter @TheOGW and on Instagram @_Joshua Welch.
And we are out of time. Until next time, guys, good night and good luck. Here's The Bag by Jezus Rose.
Come to waste no time, I just came to throw it back. All these bottles in my section, try to vote with your friend while you throw that ass back. All this money make you worth it, gon' it twerk it. How your body so perfect the way you work it. So many dollar bills, you can't even see the floor, you just put them in the bag. You just put it in the bag, you just put it in the bag. Baby girl, gonna shake that ass for me. Anything, go and throw it back for me. Go ahead and look back at that ass for me. Show me why you need this cash from me. How you climb up the pole like that? Hit a split real slow like that. Make me wanna take you home like that. Lame niggas in the club going broke like that. Gonna get your paper, gonna get your paper. You came in for a reason, gonna get your paper. These bitches hating on you, they ain't getting paper. Middle fingers to these bitches, gonna get your paper. You working, I ain't come to waste no time, I just came to throw it back. All these bottles in my section, try to vote with your friend while you throw that ass back. All this money make you worth it, gonna twerk it. How your body so perfect the way you work it. So many dollar bills, you can't even see the floor, you just put them in the bag. You just put it in the bag, you just put it in the bag. All these vibes in my section, guess they love the drippy drippy. She got nothing on below, stockings like Pippi. My favorite dancer say her name red like Trippy. And I don't get searched, so I always got the blicky. She danced to paper school, but low-key she kinda like it. Baby, what's your number? It's a party at the Hyatt. 5'7", but the hills make her a giant. When she make it clap, I clap too, I be excited. She watch herself in the mirror, I be in a daze. Grab that ankle, bend that leg, all type of ways. Ass big when it smack it, it's a tidal wave. It's a tidal wave. Girl, I know you working, I ain't come to waste no time, I just came to throw it back. All these bottles in my section, try to vote with your friend while you throw that ass back. All this money make you worth it, gon' it twerk it. How your body so perfect the way you work it. So many dollar bills, you can't even see the floor, you just put them in the bag. You just put it in the bag, you just put it in the bag.
Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast_ATI, on Instagram at the ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at atipodcastquestions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.
This is Barrett from the ATI Podcast. Each week, Josh and I discuss current events, pop culture, music, TV, movies, politics, sports. Nothing is out of bounds. You can also tune in to learn about rising artists, small businesses, whether it's music, graphic design, filmmaking, or even a brick-and-mortar mom-and-pop shop. We will be spotlighting folks and their endeavors. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Anchor, or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Just search ATI Podcast. We would like to thank you for your continued support, and as always, please stay safe out there.